Well, there definitely is an extra element with our guys getting ready for finals if we're comparing this week to what we did getting ready to compete at Sandridge for the MAC championship. So what we've done as a team has been a little bit compressed compared to the MAC championship, but I still think it's been really good. Done a lot of individual stuff, but we were also able to take Friday and Saturday and get the guys set up on a couple of different courses where they could go and kind of compete against each other a little bit, similar to what we did leading up to Sandridge, just to kind of keep the competitive juices flowing. We were able to do that, and it's just been staying as sharp as we can and making sure we get our finals taken care of before we go. Well, a couple things that stick out, even though I haven't seen the golf course yet. But what's good for our guys is that Tom Fazio, who designed Findlay, also designed Sandridge. So just general sight lines, things like that, bunkering. We're going to see some similarities between Sandridge and Findlay, which is where we're going to be going this week. When you get down into North Carolina and South Carolina, you start to see a lot of golf courses that are Bermuda grass, tee to green. Which is not our native grass, and for a lot of our players, we're used to playing on bent grass or the roughs Kentucky bluegrass. So what's going to be nice for us though is that the greens at Findlay are bent grass, which is really important. So there are some subtle differences, even though it's the same course designer. The greens are going to be a lot larger. You know, Sandridge had some really severe back to front greens and also had greens with kind of different levels to them. We're not going to see quite as much of that, but because the greens are so large, distance control into the greens is going to be very important. You know, at Sandridge, if you hit it on the green, most of the greens there, you're going to be inside 30 feet or so. At Findlay, there's a chance you could be on a green in regulation with a putt for birdie, but you could have a 60, 70, even 80 footer. So distance control is going to be very important. It's a little bit more open off the tee, or it looks a little bit more open. There's not as much trouble at Findlay as there was at Sandridge, but we need to make sure we stay disciplined in picking specific targets and hitting the ball in the fairway. The Bermuda rough reacts a lot differently than the bluegrass rough that we're used to playing out of. You can get, it's just, for us, it could be a little bit of a challenge. So it's going to be really important that even though it looks very open and you can miss a fairway and still have a chance to hit it on the green, because distance control is so important, we need to make sure we're keeping the ball in the fairway. You know, I think there's a chance in looking at the scoring from the tournament that North Carolina hosted in the fall that the scores could be fairly low, so we got to make sure we take advantage of the par fives. And there's a good mix of par fours. There's some really long par fours, but also some very short par fours where you could drive it fairly close to the front of the green, or you could lay back, hit, you know, like a 2 or a 3 iron, and then have just a little pitch shot into the green. So it's important that on those holes, we just are specific with our plan and being disciplined to our plan, because I think there's going to be some opportunities for some birdies, but that doesn't mean you should be taking chances that you wouldn't normally take. It's going to be developing a good game plan and sticking to that game plan. We've got some very good teams there. I mean, North Carolina is a 3 seed and they're the host, and they shot 33 under in their event in the fall. So they're going to be pretty comfortable out there. We saw Florida State as well last fall, I think, down at Old Corkscrew in Florida. I think they're the #1 team in the country right now, and they looked like it when we saw them, you know, last October. The other team I think we've seen, Georgia Regents University, we saw them at Purdue, and I think we beat them. But the good thing about the schedule we played during the year is that we see top 25 teams, you know, on a very consistent basis. We saw Illinois, I think, twice this year, and Illinois is going to have a legitimate chance to win the national championship. So the field's deep. It's deep at every regional, but you know, I think we can't go out there and play defense. You know, I'm not Chuck Martin trying to devise a scheme to stop Florida State this week. There's nothing I can do or our players can do about what those guys shoot. So all we need to be focused on is learning the golf course, developing a good game plan, and making sure we just focus on ourselves. Because the only way we're going to make it out of this, as I've been telling our guys, it's a 13 for 5 qualifier, because finishing first and finishing fifth mean the exact same thing at the end of the week. So the only thing we can control is our performance on that golf course. So, there isn't going to be a lot of talk on the way down there or at the hotel about what do we need to do in relation to these other teams. We got to first and foremost make sure we take care of our business, because if we do that, then we'll be in good shape. Well, Pat's done a great job just making the adjustment to college life. As I tell our recruits, it's not just a golf adjustment. I mean, everything is more difficult about performing at this level compared to what they're used to in junior and high school golf. But it's a life adjustment, and Pat did a great job, getting things. There's just so many things you have to take care of that you didn't have to take care of at home, and he's done a great job making the adjustment to school and to life, and to coming in and working hard and not being afraid of making a difference right away. So he's someone that has a lot of high-level competitive experience. He's grown up playing against really good players. One of his close friends growing up, someone he played a lot of golf with, is on a top 5 team right now. So he's used to seeing and being around that kind of golf every day. So, I think for Pat, as long as he just continues to focus on his game and doing what he can do out there to play his best, I can see him having another great week. Greg's someone that had played individually in a handful of events in the fall and then in the early part of the spring, and then finally we ended up making a switch and putting him into the team lineup going into Indiana. And the great thing about Greg is that he has the capability of shooting some very low scores, which is really in a 5-count-4 format. You would obviously love for everyone to play well every round, but if someone struggles maybe 1 or 2 of the 3 rounds, but they post a 68, they post a 68 and a 70, that goes a long way to helping your team score. And a great example of that was the second round on Friday at the MAC Championship. He shot 69. So having that in your pocket as a team, to have someone that's got that capability, is a really good thing. And Greg, stepped in and added to the chemistry on the road right away, and then just with his performance, every week he's had an under par round that's really helped our team score. So we're definitely excited that he's starting to kind of reach the potential that he has as a player, and for him it's just about being a little bit more consistent and getting himself into a position where he's shooting those scores more often. Jack spent the first 14 years of his life in the Chapel Hill, Durham area, and grew up playing a lot of golf at Findlay. And it's not the, hey, I left North Carolina when I was 6 and I played a little junior golf there. Jack's played a lot of golf that he remembers at that golf course. So, so having that sort of local knowledge is going to be huge. And just the comfort level for Jack. His spring got off to a good start, had a chance to win at Colleton River, and then had a stretch where he really struggled prior to the MAC Championship, but then put himself in a position to win the MAC Championship. And that's really the kind of golf that we know Jack's capable of. I mean, he's had a chance to win a few times this year, so it was, and all good players really go through those stretches where you just can't seem to get it in the hole fast enough. And credit to Jack for just continuing to work hard and continuing to try and figure out what he needed to do to get better, and really had a fantastic week at the MAC Championship. So to have that kind of a performance on that kind of a stage, and now he's going to a place where he's very comfortable, is, it couldn't be a better situation for Jack. And then also for us to have that kind of local knowledge is going to be really important in helping us prepare this week. Brantley, I'll tell you what, that's such a great story, because really the first 3.5 years of his career, he just was not quite playing the kind of golf that we felt like he could be playing. And there's a couple of things that can happen to a senior in their last year. And I remember going back to my days as a college player, as a student athlete, and for me, my senior year was almost more kind of freaking out, being worried about, you know, life after college and letting that get in the way. But the other thing that you see happen to a senior is that, hey, this is my last shot, I'm going to put everything I can into it, and whatever happens, happens. And that's Brantley. And Brantley, you know, came back this spring and was working really hard on his game, and we just gave him a chance at the match play. And he went 2-0, played really well. We kept him in the lineup at Colleton River, which was about a month later. And I remember the first round, he didn't get off to a great start, but he hung in there and ended up with his career best finish up to that point, which was a tie for 12th. And played well at Tallis Park the following week, and really kind of the rest is history. He's been a mainstay in the lineup for us this spring, and for him to kind of hang in there and find a way in his last semester to, you know, make a contribution that frankly is going to leave an indelible mark on this program. I mean, it's the first conference championship in 19 years, and for a senior who, you know, had really only played a handful of events to, in his last semester, get into the lineup on a consistent basis and not just be in the lineup. I mean, he had an under par round, you know, the first round of the MAC championship that, you know, really played, again, a critical role in us getting that 8-shot lead after the first day. So, so for him to get to that point is just awesome, and I really want to see him continue that kind of play this week down in North Carolina. Well, Scott was in kind of a similar situation as Jack, where he just wasn't quite playing as well as he would have liked. And you know, Scott's someone that you need leadership within a team, you know, to push guys. And you know, I believed we could win the MAC championship, and believed we could really get this thing rolling. And Scott was someone that believed the same thing. And Scott really pushed, you know, the guys hard to get the work done that they needed to, and also to believe that, hey, if we put in the work, if we you know, and we just trust that our best golf is going to take care of itself, we can get here. You know, Scott is a great example of that. So really just proud for him that he's able to go out on this note, winning a conference championship, but also at the same time, you know, we really believe that we can keep this thing going. And for Scott to be a part of that, you know, just for me as a coach, and really for that class of seniors, it's pretty special that we're going out the way we are. But you know, Scott has aspirations to play professional golf. That's his plan. He's going to turn pro after our season's over. So this is going to be a great measuring stick for him, and he's been preparing hard at home this past week, and you know, he fully anticipates, and I anticipate with him continuing his play from the MAC championship. The thing that's amazing is within two minutes of Pat putting out on the last hole, my phone just exploded. And I want to say I probably ended up total with about 200 text messages, about 40 phone calls, and about 250 emails from people from all over the place, just congratulating the team and wishing them well and really pushing us to keep this thing going. And you know, and I think back to my first year here 4 years ago, where you know, we were really in a place where we were having to work hard to get people just kind of engaged and reintroduced to the program and what we were trying to do. You know, to go from that 4 years ago to, you know, just really the overwhelming response we've received. You know, I can't thank our alumni and our supporters enough, and it means a lot to our program. I mean, it's been 19 years, but you know, I'm sure we could rewind all of the interviews I've done with Bake where I've talked about, hey, we're working to build a championship program. We're not just trying to get a little better. We're not just trying to win a MAC championship occasionally. Like, we want to position ourselves where we're one of the elite programs in Division I golf. but you have to take steps along the way to get there. And winning that conference championship was the first step. So to be able to take that first big step was really important. But the mindset is that we're not going to be satisfied with that. We need to keep going. And this week, going down to Chapel Hill is an opportunity to keep going. And we're going to be ready, and we're going to do everything we can to take advantage of it.